Hey, everybody, welcome back into the Lettermen Lounge. It is a glorious Monday in Columbus, Ohio. We are in Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. It's time for a fun, casual conversation about those Ohio State Buckeyes. Spring is in the air. The brackets are out. Spring ball started.
Players are out getting drunk and probably
spring break.
Spring break.
How weird is that? You start spring ball, right? And then you're like, all right, we're taking a week off. Here we go.
Urban started this, and I'm like, it's the most genius thing ever.
Well,
as we digress to football immediately.
We have to. Well, I was going to. By the way, that's Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Spencer Holbrook in this week. I'm Austin Ward. Nicole is down there with Chris Holtmann right now for his show this week, getting ready for the tournament. And Berm, I think, has... I don't know, an owie.
Berm's old.
Some sort of owie. It's arthritis. I don't know. But yes, spring break is underway.
It's so strange.
And it is a good setup, I think.
Well, because it gives you more content.
I love it.
You get a week of a week more in here. We used to have, spring break, it used to always be spring ball was a month. You had 15 practices.
Mm-hmm.
You usually go 3-3, get your 6, then 4-4. The spring game would count as one. And so you'd have it all there and just be kind of crammed in. We'd get back. Tress used to bring us back. And I'm surprised that they don't do this. Remember we started coming back on Sunday
nights. Yeah, you have meetings Sunday night.
8 o'clock team meeting.
People come in all burnt or suntanned from wherever they were.
Still drunk, straight from the airport.
I believe.
I mean, it was amazing. And so they do that to make sure everyone was back. But Urban took it to a new level. You know what? And it was different too because you wouldn't start spring ball during finals week. So we were on quarters. So going to semesters
that changed.
Allowed it to kind of change up a little bit. And so you can have 2 practices. Then we'll give you the week off. You know what's going on. We can still input things. And by the way, the meeting time doesn't count. It's not a day's number of meetings. And then we come back, and then we can have a whole nother 4 weeks. Yeah. And so you can stretch that over 6 weeks. More content for the folks.
Give it to me.
That's right.
And the only thing, and then you give your guys now, it's you're in the middle of spring ball. It wasn't like before, I'm done with finals. Let's go. Party times, get back. Now, they come back, and Mickey Marotti's like, hey, we expect you to be ready. Don't be coming back in dehydrated and tired and not doing any of your 3 prescribed workouts and getting hurt. And there's the reality to that.
Hydrate. It was always weird because I never went on a spring break.
Neither did I.
And most of us didn't because we had spring break, and then that Tuesday or whatever it was, you started practice. So you had to be. I always thought to myself I had to be in shape. I had to stay and work out. I had to be ready to go.
That's because you cared about what you did.
Fair. And I was trying to play a position that matters. Somewhat. I mean, they all matter, I guess, but that guy's touching the ball every play.
Yeah.
I was trying to be the guy. So
Scott McMullen used to go on.
Scotty Mack's a different bird now. Come on now.
He just rolls out of bed.
Scotty Mack. The gunslinger, he could roll out of bed and get it.
There's certain players.
I was going to ask where you guys went on spring break. JZ's saying you never did it.
I
thought you guys took some trips out to Vegas. We
did that. We did that in February before.
Oh, okay.
Before 6 a.m.
That's a trip.
Nick and AJ turned 21 in early mid-February.
Yeah,
so it was right after Nick's birthday we went out.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. That was 4 days. But the thought of going down to Panama City and doing that
week
sounds awesome.
Oh, sounds great.
But the thought of coming back,
and having practice, could you imagine?
Those are just the penultimate first Friday is Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. The penultimate Sunday scaries would be getting back from spring break and then also having a workout the next day.
Like at 6 a.m. on Monday morning.
You would just lay there and watch throw a time change.
Throw that into it.
You just watch the clock spin around, sweating out alcohol. Probably still smell like cigarettes and everything else. Have some glitter on you still. I mean, just... brutal. Oh, and by the way, your sweating back hurts because of the sunburn. Knowing how you're gonna put your shoulder
put your pads on.
It hurts. It feels so bad. That's nothing I wanted to be a part of.
That kept us at home for that week. No doubt about it.
That sounds like spring break in Athens.
Spring break in Athens is fun. I went to Daytona one year.
Of course.
And then,
you guys, then in Athens, they've got the fests in May. They'd all go down. They would have another Memorial Day pseudo spring break where everyone would go down to Hilton Head. My brother played it. I'm like, is this real? He goes, oh yeah, everybody goes. What do you mean? The whole school basically. They just all line up and drive down.
I did a spring break in Hilton Head. There were no college students whatsoever except for 3 groups of OU kids.
Yeah.
And it's why did we go to?
I did not know that.
To get drunk on the beach with people we already know.
Probably because the weather was more reliable down there.
Yeah, but it was elderly people, and that's it, and then OU students. So there was no in between. There's the retirement community.
That's just like Athens.
What did you say,
like
John?
Athens.
Old people, while danger is still behind the wheel, still serve a purpose.
Still serve a purpose. It's strange. It's strange to get that week out. No, you were talking about meetings. Are they having?
Not this
They're
week.
not.
this week.
They
But,
do
like,
nothing in.
But they had meetings like 3 days of meetings last week, so you get that.
For sure.
You get that 5th week of meetings.
Well, and you might get this. Take this with you.
Oh,
next.
no, of course.
Hey.
they like,
We're going to be tracking what you're watching next week.
it's like drink from a fire hose. They put a bazillion things in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you screw all this up. Watch this. Let's have all that fixed by the time we get back. No more of those. So we'll give you a week to kind of let it all soak in.
Yeah.
First impressions are important. They get an entire week to soak up those first impressions. You make a good first impression, you got a week off. Now you got to come back and follow it up. You make a bad
Second first impression?
Yeah, I mean, you make
Well, you get it. It's a second chance because then you put on the pads. That's going to be different than last week.
I want you to think about some of the guys who just got here from high school. They came in, they were here for a couple weeks, or months.
They got through
get to
6 a.m.
Then it's like, hey, get out. Like, they're just like going back home to be like, honestly, to be king. Imagine going back home. All your friends are in school and you're just at your
You're
parents'
just hanging out.
Like,
You go into the school and just walk around, smile, see everybody, work out.
well, what is she supposed to do? Like,
Just stop in on
What's
your French
college
class.
like?
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
are there girls there?
Are there?
hey, man, it's the best. There's no one here now, but when there are people here, it's great.
Yeah. Those first impressions, though. I know Bob was out there. I saw this young linebacker walking around. I thought he was a recruit, getting all the glad.
Was Jeremy talking to him, trying to find out if he was an elite family or?
That's right. Burn was trying to get the details. Like, oh no, this guy's already out of that facility. That's too bad.
Looks like
No,
he
I got my COVID year.
Oh, COVID year.
COVID year coming back.
We all get those.
Everyone comes back.
So we'll see you in the spring game. You can
So
give us
go back-
2 good drives.
Absolutely. Could give you 2 good drives. A little bit of pass rush there, but yeah, it was fun watching some of those young guys moving around, new positions, hanging out, getting to see some different things. Like it was pretty great.
I mean, I know it was a spring practice, and I wasn't there, but could you tell a difference coaching-wise on defensive staff? I mean, it's all new, so it's going to be different.
Well,
but
everybody's
when
got
you sit back and it's like, oh, okay, this is different from what I saw last year type thing.
I said this. It'll be great for the quarterbacks because they do a lot of different things defensively. And I was amazed. Day 1, they didn't have many busts. Day 2, all right, it started to see it. Like, you're waiting to see some of the free runners where, like, someone just screwed up, and they messed up everything, let a guy go. Didn't really happen first day. Second day, saw a little bit more of it, and that was a reality. But they do a lot of post-snap movement. Like, you're sitting there and you're like, all right, this looks single high. Is it going to be man? Is it going to be zone? And they're spinning. They'll change where their doubles are. They've got some, like, stuff that we used to kind of run with Spags, like cover 2 trap concepts that'll convert to double cover 4 on vertical. So and it all kind of looks the same. And so as a quarterback, like, I was watching those guys to see, like, all right, single high, double high. Like, now am I getting to my reads? Is it man? Are they
You're able to see them as you're taking your drop to see what they do to where what
are
you
they
need
chasing
to,
single high? Are they chasing? Are they setting up? Like, and there's who is the double on? Are they doubling inside? Are they doubling out? And like, there's just a lot of good stuff where they hold landmarks.
Yeah.
And like I said, there was some process. Day 1, the offense didn't have much stuff in. Day 2, you put a little more in. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, I'm showing here. I can't press this. I can't do that. So you're going to work through some things, but it was fun. It was great to see those guys, especially on the back end. Like, Court Williams is out there. Court, made some huge strides. Watching like Tommy Eichenberg kind of pick up where he left off. Like some of these Ronnie's out there running around. Like these dudes kind of picking up off of where they were and now understanding football better. And so when you're having these new concepts, it's going to challenge you a little bit, but just your general knowledge of the game is at a higher level, and so you can absorb things at a faster rate.
I felt like that was key, Jay-Z, is that these guys, we've talked about it over and over about how young they were. Like, you don't have to be necessarily experienced just in one system to play well. Like, just being on the field and playing football is meaningful. That whatever you build up on your body reps and familiarity with the speed of the game, how
dude reps,
how significant those dude reps are, no matter what system you're running. Because you guys played in different systems, learned different playbooks. Like, that's part of football. Like, you still have to be able to understand how to run, tackle, play at speed, all those other things.
Yeah, you just my worry, or not that it's a worry, but with the new staff, they're going to be playing more up here right now than go. Right? Play fast. Because right now they're all right. Man, I got this. I got to do this. They moved here. I got to go. Like there's so much that back side of the defense, I imagine, is just dealing with getting the calls in, knowing who's making the, adjustments, this or that, what the offense does. I think this is just that time, and we've talked about it, where they can understand what the coaches are trying to do, the process behind their calls, what they're trying to accomplish. And then, towards the end of spring, maybe they're playing a little bit faster and they're understanding it a little bit more. And, they're able to make some different checks that coaches might sit back and say, man, they picked that up quick. Like, this is awesome. So I think that springtime is a lot of that. And, this week off, getting that introduction, maybe, like we talked about, this might be a week for them. Oh, okay. We either got to do this, we got to pick this up here, we got to do something different here. But, they're going to have this week to kind of sit back and take a lot of that in. That was thrown at them, early in those first two. Yeah.
Take a lot of booze in.
Let's hope not.
Luckily for those guys on defense, though, Jim Knowles is known as a guy who simplifies everything and makes really difficult concepts and a lot of movements pre and post snap easy to understand.
Difficult movements made simple.
Yeah, he's known as a guy who is going to teach those things, at a very almost elementary level to give these guys a chance.
You mean like explain to me the situation in Ukraine like I was a third grader? So they have 11 guys. We have 11 guys. We need to tackle the guy with the ball and try to keep them inside.
In as few of yards as possible.
And never let them into the colored paint area at the end.
The way you see Jim Knowles get up out of the chair, show the microphone as the offensive guy and say, okay, we got to give it a hip to the microphone, tackle that way. Those kind of things.
Hips on dudes.
Yeah, hips on dudes. There's nothing like the experience of getting hips on dudes. And they have Ohio State in the defense.
I played quarterback. I didn't put many hips on dudes.
Didn't put many hips on dudes? Well, they were trying to put hips on you, Jay-Z.
One time I put a hip on a dude.
Look at that attractive dude. Let's go put a hip on him.
A lot of experience in the defense, a lot of experience putting hips on dudes, but it's a new system. Luckily, like I said, Jim Knowles seems to be the kind of coach that makes it simple for them to understand, so those difficult concepts become relatively easy by the end of spring.
And I think part of it, he does a good job teaching it, like understanding why we're doing this. And also, like it's just even if you're in a different system, you can look at it now. Okay, we're doing some stuff differently, but I know what the opposite side of the ball. I've seen these things before. So while my terminology may be a little bit different.
It's very different.
Yeah, very different. And while, there's all these different crazy things, we're running different stuff. Like I know, okay, when they come out in this formation or they do this or there's this set on the other side, like I have an idea now of kind of what they want to run. And honestly, like for the defense, that's a little bit easier because you're seeing much of the same style of offense that Ryan Day had. So hey, day one install, what are our basic plays? The defense knows that for the most part. I knew we were going to put in why shallow, home route, all these different, the difference, like the 3 plays that are here we go. This is what it is. This is what it is.
If we got crazy, we'd swap it, and the dig would come from the other side. It was crazy.
And so you know what your day one install is, regardless of, hey, we might be running something I don't know, but I know what they're going to do, so I can kind of be right and cheat to that, and we'll be okay.
I'm just going to run their play, not worry about mine, and be in the right spot.
This stuff with the way Jim Knowles teaches, and I said it in February, people can put as much stock into press conferences as they want. I tend to think that the way you communicate in a room of 50, 60 media members and your personality, how you describe what you are, your philosophies, like you don't have to open up the playbook for us. We're never going to get that. I don't even want it. I can't understand it at that level. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. But, if we're talking about Spencer said walking it through at an elementary level or a 100 level, 400
or
level.
an 050 level.
Yeah. You save that for the players, but like I'm just impressed with the way he engages anybody, and standing up to tackle the microphone. I haven't seen that very often. Now, does that mean that in September they're going to come out and be the number 1 defense in the country just because he's cool and unique dude? No, I mean, but I think it's a glimpse at the way he probably is teaching in the meeting rooms, and that's pretty significant in my mind.
If, number one, he's a detail-oriented guy, and you can see that when he's talking through things. It's like our guy Schlegs. If you get Schlegs gassed up on something, he's going to tell you about the details of this sub right here and how, you go with the base layer of the lettuce, and then it's important. You want to have the tomato because it's big to cover and protect the lettuce, but then you put the peppers and the onions on.
And look at these mozzarella sticks down here.
Yeah. And then he gets
and then he goes
then a squirrel runs by.
That's what makes it elite. But Jim Knowles, like, if you can't explain something, and someone told me this a long time ago with business deals, and they joke, explain it to me like I'm a 5th grader. Dumb it down. Like if you can't explain that as a coach to people who don't understand, you have players who don't fully understand. So if you can't explain it that well, you don't truly know it and understand it yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a big piece. And so when you can sit there and like, hey, I'm a brain surgeon explaining to a brain surgeon. I'm a brain surgeon explaining to a resident, explaining to a first-year, a freshman in college, or explaining to a patient or some kids on career day. Like I can break it down and give it to them in a digestible form with the level of detail that they need, and that is a massive skill.
It's almost like I talked to former UCLA offensive lineman Sean Ryan, not to put this into the offense, but I asked him what makes Justin Fry a good coach when you're just starting to learn something. He said he puts everything into buckets, and you put everything into buckets, and then you take those buckets and you pour them all in the same trough. And so,
gosh, it sounds like you're making Harry Buffalo over there.
But
sounds like you're on spring break.
Some jungle juice for spring break.
But when you do that, you can teach things pretty simply and then make them all come together. And I think that's what Jim Knowles does really well. That's what Justin Fry does really well. And that's what's going to make these guys learn things on the fly. But it's not going to seem like they're learning. Yeah,
on the fry.
Hey,
there we go. Let's say that might be it's fry time, baby. Let's go.
I thought I don't know where to go with that.
We're gonna have a fry day.
We got a lot of it. We have what do we have? Fried mozzarella
fried mozzarella sticks. Is that
that are coming for appetizer Tuesday.
Is that the featured appetizer?
That's gonna be the featured appetizer, and I mean they're delicious, Bob.
Listen, this is basically. Your ace. This is the guy. The mozzarella sticks.
Old Faithful. If you're looking for an appetizer, they're going to
build a program.
It's going to chew up 7 innings for you. Probably give up no more than 3 runs. Maybe give you an 8th inning. Like you're not going to go wrong. No one's going to say, "Hey, throw the mozz sticks."
Yeah, it's getting rid of those in the 2nd inning.
They're going to be able
to
get
deep.
They
the mozz sticks.
Because some of the other stuff, like Schleg's loves the mac and cheese bites, Bill Zwick loves the fried mushroom. Everybody likes something different.
Yeah.
But this is something that everybody gets behind.
Yeah,
throw your ace,
fried cheese.
the mozz sticks, the great marinara sauce. What is Schleg's like? Some sort of other sauce.
He's on the mac and cheese bite.
Yeah, mac and cheese. But the marinara sauce, $2 featured appetizer.
I think Schleg's likes the ranch.
Yeah, that's gross.
He wants to go ranch. I think that's the wrong move.
It really is.
It's not a terrible move. There's really nothing. There's really nothing you can dip ranch into.
Yeah, I'm a big ranch guy.
Putting ranch on mozz sticks is the equivalent of trying to block Joey Bosa with a running back on a 4th down.
It's a James Franklin move.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I'd go that far. It's still tasty.
Best case scenario, Bosa gets confused, trips and falls down and doesn't get there. Worst case scenario, he just tackles everyone at the same time.
James Franklin's just over there like, come on, trip, Joey. Let's see if this 4th and 6th zone read will work too a couple years later.
That's right.
Big game, James. What do we think about that terminology you brought up, Bob? The adjuster. I don't know if I like that.
And the adjuster.
Got the bandit and the adjuster. We know we're going to have the Leo up front.
Yeah, so is it the Leo? Is that what we're going with now? I heard Jack.
Initially, we thought it was going to be called the Jack.
The Meoff?
But I think it's going to be Leo.
Gotcha.
Probably to avoid that situation.
That's perfect. So we've got that. We got the.
We'll be yelling that really loud in the stadium.
What did you say? The adjuster and what was the other one?
The bandit.
The bandit. Not the bullet.
Boundary.
Not the bullet. No.
Bandit. Yeah.
Bandit is boundary safety.
Boundary safety. He's going to be your box guy. And so it's different kind of.
That's where Court Williams is right now. So as we saw last week.
Court Williams looks like a good bandit. Big dude, physical.
He did look big. I saw a picture.
I love Court. And buddy, let's just give in to.
You don't have to.
Just submit to go play linebacker. Dude, I know you want to do this.
Pack on a few more pounds and go.
But not even that much. Not even that much.
He looked big.
I'm like, buddy, if you just don't fight weight, you'll be 230. He had a 17-inch neck when he was a senior. They called him Jailhouse. That was his nickname. Byrne knew that.
The Jailhouse Bandit? Is that a new?
Oh, wow.
That's coming strong.
Be the Jailhouse Bandit. But that's kind of your box guy, which is it's a boundary. You don't have to move quite as much, and then you've got more of your traditional nickel-ish player, which will be the adjuster, who will find that second.
There's a nickel.
Yeah, I think the nickel is
actually called the nickel.
Yes,
which is creative.
And then you have
it's a new twist.
And then you have your
middle of the field safety, and then your adjuster, who kind of adjusts off the nickel and kind of picks up that extra.
Which is where Ronnie Hickman is now, and where I think it's interesting is that's got to be the spot for Josh Proctor when he's full go.
Yeah, he's the middle of the field guy.
So what do you do then with Ronnie Hickman? Does that mean that Court Williams moves? I don't know how the pieces
I think they can rotate those guys through. The reality is, in college football now, you're playing 90 snaps a game. And Ronnie Hickman, I think, can kind of do both, and you can roll those guys. And honestly, Josh Proctor, he has to be healthy. He's physically is great and can run and hit and all that. But you always want to make sure you have backup plans where other guys can kind of move. And I like some position flexibility there to be able to kind of move guys through. Who'd you say McAllister's playing?
Tanner McAllister
he'll
and
be
Cameron
the
Martinez in the nickel.
To start, because he's a guy that knows the system and can kind of help get people in place early on.
I thought Burke and I guess Cam isn't playing. Ledges looked pretty good so far.
I was
as well.
pretty impressed with Legend Cavazos, and I've been pretty critical of him in the past. And I think that
sometimes it takes a little bit for guys to click and get confident.
And I think that he realized. I wrote about this earlier at Lettermen Row. Like, he's kind of in between because you have Denzel Burke and Cameron Brown. Cam Brown is again on a little bit of a rep count to get through spring. He's fine. He's going to be fine. He was doing individual work, and then you have the younger guys where there's so much talk about. Jordan Hancock, for example, and Johnson. These two guys coming behind, and Legend's just right there in the middle. Like, you're not going to catch up maybe to the starters, and you could get passed by these guys behind, but you better be ready.
You got to fill your space, man.
The next one in there.
It's like the caliphate, unclaimed land. You've got to grab that stuff right now and gobble it up.
Gobble.
And I'm serious, because if not, like you said, you start getting pinched from both sides.
Get shrunk.
Where you haven't fully established. So this spring is going to be big for him, where they'll have confidence coming out and saying, hey, you're going to be our first rotational piece in.
I think more than anything, it was just because, again, they didn't have the full pads on. I don't know how well he tackled. I don't know what happened.
I'm going to tell you this. Hopefully you're not tackling too much at corner because you're not cutting.
Don't want to be
the
doing
guy
that.
you're covering isn't catching the ball.
But there were two things. I thought physically it looked like, he hadn't fully accepted in the past what Mickey Marotti and everybody else was trying to put on him. And you could see some really cool Instagram photos, but you didn't really see it translate to the field. And then there were opportunities where there were tackles that he had to make, and he didn't seem to want to do that. And I think that, as you said, sometimes it's not even just the physical part. Mentally, he has to accept the challenge, and it looks like he is. I don't know. It's 2 practices.
I think he's buying in based upon what I saw there. I mean, because you could pout about like, well, I should be out there more, this and that. He's getting an opportunity. Cam isn't out there, so they put him in. Yeah. You were next up. Yeah. We're going to give you the first opportunity for this, and we're not going to put Herb Hancock in there. We're going to give it to you. You're a veteran guy, highly recruited player, and honestly, like Ledge is a terrific athlete. Yeah. It's just getting the athleticism to line up with sometimes the play consistently on the field because he'll do some great things, and then you're like, we can't have that. And so I think this is going to be a good opportunity. I didn't see very many of those plays where like. Come on, Ledge. Like, he looked competitive. He was out there. He was taking coaching well. And I think, honestly, like Tim Walton and, my goodness.
Perry
Eliano. Like, both of those guys, I like the way that they've coached. They've done a good job. It's big shoes to fill with Kerry Combs and Matt Barnes. I thought both of them were excellent at coaching technique and communicating. But Tim and Perry, I thought, did a really good job here this last week. They've got good players to work with. That helps. But they communicating with those guys.
And you wonder if they just look at their roster and say, man, we got all these players to pick from.
It's pretty crazy. And the guy that I'm watching, Bob, I'm curious what you saw, if anything. I know Chip Trainham had an interception on Tuesday. The guy's put together pretty well. And he's got experience in Power 5 football, but it's on the other side of the football. I don't know if he's going to take to it as quickly as Steel Chambers did. But I certainly think there's a possibility of that. And you might have 2 former running backs out there running around at linebacker.
Yeah, and that's it's interesting when you see that guy, transferring in and then making that move. And there's a learning curve, but you've got the spring ball to kind of figure that out. It's a pretty crowded room because you cut down from 3 backers to 2. And what's interesting too is I think I'm curious to see how Jim Knowles will adjust because you're going to face teams that run 21 personnel, 22 personnel, 12, where you can't run a 4-2-5.
No.
Unless that dude that's the 5-man is
Court Williams.
Yeah, Williams, who can play man-to-man on a receiver, weighs 230 pounds. Like, there aren't too many dudes that can do that in this world. Like, it's a very limited selection set. Those guys are usually top 10 picks that can have that. And so there'll be space for other guys to kind of slide in. But he looked good. I mean, I liked what Tommy was doing. I thought Tommy Eichenberg picked up right where he left off. Cody's battling some things right now with his injury, and he'll probably won't be in spring ball much in a physical way. Steele, this is a big opportunity for him to kind of get out there. And so they've kind of moved this stuff. Mitchell Melton, throwing him out there and maybe they changed it from Jack because that's Sawyer's first name.
Yeah,
he's
it's
playing.
too confusing. Like, Jack, we need a Jack. I'm coming. 33's coming off.
What do you need?
And honestly, that might be part of it. Like, I never really thought about that, but I thought he looked the most natural of all of those guys.
Jack or Melton?
Jack. Melton, I think, has a chance to be pretty good. He did some good things. Jack looks really comfortable rushing out of a 2-point and being able to drop and move around and just having the full bag of tricks that you need there. Because they run a lot of 8-man drop, too. Like, he does a lot of different stuff, Jay-Z.
Yeah.
That's one of the guys that I'm looking at the closest this
He looks
spring
good, too.
is Mitchell
Big.
Not Jack, but Mitchell Melton. Because what you need in this defense is positional versatility. You need to be able to do multiple things to get on the field because there's a lot of guys for a few different spots. And so when you talk about Mitchell Melton.
Only a couple holes, a
Yeah.
lot of dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
You're absolutely right, partner.
you're absolutely right. So when you look at a guy who's a linebacker, can play defensive end, but has that versatility to do a couple different things really well. If he can come back from that injury last year and fill a need for this team, we need a guy right now. Mitchell Melton could do multiple things. He can plug and play type of guy. I think he's got a chance to make some noise this spring. I don't know if it's going to happen exactly this spring. He might have to take it into camp, but it's a good starting spot for him this spring.
I like Cade Stover in that role, too. We'll see what happens. Good competition at a lot of spots. A lot more spring ball coming for them. 13 practices once they get back from spring break. We're going to take a quick break as well here on at Roosters for Lettermen Live. Talk a little bit about basketball when we come back as the brackets are out and what to expect from Chris Holtmann and the Buckeyes. We are at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. This is Lettermen Live. Stay with us.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint. But the truth is, it is so much more. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind. It's a front row seat to the big game. It's a place where you will always find a friendly face. And the home of wings so big you won't believe it. It's your family's other dinner table. So yeah, we're a lot of things to a lot of people. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Precision engineering, rigorous attention to detail. A Bryant Evolution heating system is so well designed, it's as much of a joy to install as it is to use.
Good to go.
For the dealer nearest you, visit Bryant.com.
All right, welcome back into Roosters for Lettermen Live. We're back just like Tom Brady. What a long retirement that was.
How about that? Wasn't drawn out, though. Hey, listen.
Do you think he just wanted like a vacation? Like, couldn't he have asked?
Well, I think he had to do that because Schefter came out and jumped the gun and said, hey, he's retiring. And then he
wanted to help Schefter?
Well,
he could have
got pushed,
ruined his career.
He's probably
They're both Michigan guys.
Michigan
like,
Ben, Bob.
maybe I should retire. And he just says, all right, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
I think part of it, too, is I think he honestly probably wanted to retire. Like, in his mind, the idea of retirement sounded great. And then you start realizing how you ended the season. They had that massive comeback and fall a little short.
Yep.
You realize, like, I just threw for more yards than any other time in my career.
Could have been MVP.
Could have been MVP.
At 44 years old.
That's pretty wild.
I mean, in the last 8 years, he's oscillated between winning a Super Bowl and then getting bounced in the playoffs.
Playoffs, yes.
So it's an even year, so it's up for another
It works out very well that he might be back to winning.
So he had
Super
like
Bowl.
6 weeks to do all that math?
So I think he
Well,
honestly
he saw a
sat
meme
back.
on Instagram and he's like, I should go back and
Well, I think he just sat back and was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm sitting here, I'm hanging out with the kids, the family. Hey, like, let's just go through the football. Let's just go through the football, And his son's like, Dad, I'm not drunk. Like, let's quit doing that. Like, nope, let's just throw the football. It'll all be good. And eventually, like, I can still do this. That's the biggest thing. Like, I can still do it, and I still have a desire. Because usually either the desire goes, very few times does the desire go, and you can still physically do it. Usually it's you want to still do it.
You can't.
The desire's there, but you just physically can't get over the hump. That's the main issue. And so if you're Tom, like, you've got a good team, viable squad. They're restructuring guys. And like Albert Breer said, he's like, he's a great Buckeye reporter. And it's like, we probably should have realized when they restructured Vita Vea last week, and then also franchise tag Godwin, like, that there was a chance that this was going to come back, because you're not going to, like, it's like the Packers. You're not franchising Devontae Adams if Aaron Rodgers isn't coming back.
Right.
And so you want to make sure you have the dudes for your main dude.
Yeah.
Then they had him. Brady was out there talking to Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
So you're done, right?
You're finished, right? I don't. Not. Should I tell you? Like, the camera's kind of just.
I feel like he should have looked. It should have been like an old school 80s end where he like blinks and it's like a star and it's just cut the tape and it's over. Hey, exactly. Would have been fantastic. Ronaldo breaking news.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy can do it all.
2 handsome dudes, by the way.
I mean, and a lot of money.
Yes.
and a lot of trophies. And I think
lot of championships.
I think they've probably spent some
Do you
time with
think-
attractive females as well.
Do you think he? Oh, for
Just
sure.
a little bit.
Do you think Brady and Ronaldo spoke in any Portuguese together? Because isn't Ronaldo Portuguese?
He is.
And given the fact that Giselle is Brazilian, I'm assuming that Portuguese is her native tongue as well.
Well,
So
the-
with two native Portuguese tongues and Tom's tongue in the middle, do you think there was any?
Brazilian Portuguese
I
and
get tongue-tied.
Portuguese in Portugal are not the same. Now maybe,
At one point it was.
it's not anymore.
I mean,
The dialects have separated it.
well, it's like
one point.
Mexican Spanish versus like Spanish or any other South American country outside of Brazil.
Yeah, I'll let people tell us in the comments or the message board how wrong I may be about that. But
Oh, I'm sure there's dialect. Coach, have you ever listened to somebody talk from New Orleans or Baton Rouge and someone from Jersey?
Allie and I were trying to
versus-
learn it when we went to Brazil for the World Cup, and we did some of the classes and the videos to learn the Portuguese.
How'd that
Like
go?
how cool? Not good. Like
They say it's one of the hardest languages.
it's
to
so
learn.
hard. It's so hard. I don't know. We got through maybe. We were talking about elementary. We got through maybe the first lessons, and I'm like, I'm too old to be doing this. Like, that was 2014. Like, I don't know. I don't think my brain is capable of this.
I'll tell you this, like even playing in the NFL, we would have guys that would come in from like LSU and Ole Miss that were like deep rural South, like from small towns. And then we had Ben Graham, who was from Australia, who was like I needed to be the interpreter for both of these people to have a conversation, like a central dialect that I could pick up enough of the Australian English and enough of like the deep South English, and then be like, this is what he's actually saying. Like, what the heck is he? What language? I'm like, that's English. Both of you are speaking English, some version of it, although it is dramatically different.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure that there is that element with Portuguese and other languages.
But they
Yeah,
probably
no doubt.
could have. And maybe they should have. Then we wouldn't have all got tipped off that Brady was
Ooh.
coming back.
Who's to say?
I don't know. I didn't think we'd be talking about Portuguese on the show this week, but that's
Yeah, I didn't.
That's why
I didn't do any
Lettermen
research on that one.
is
How do
the
you say
best.
roosters in Portuguese?
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Roosters. It's a proper noun. Friday at 12:15,
Hey, go Bucks.
Chris Holtmann. I think it's a must-win game.
Versus
I know there are
Sister
some
G.
people who don't agree with my assessment.
Must win for what? To advance? Absolutely, it is.
Well, yes,
because
it's
if you
win or
don't
else.
win, you go
Survive
home.
in advance.
Saying a must-win
This is
to
Mark-
survive,
I think now he's not going to be fired. I know that.
but you want him to be.
And I'm not even saying that he should be. We've talked about the expectations. We had that conversation 2 weeks ago. What do you want out of the basketball program? If he's giving you that, fine. Just say that you want to be a fringe top 25 team, a 7 seed, as long as you get in the tournament is fine.
The thing was, 2 weeks ago, they were like a 4 seed, and like with a chance
Trending the other way.
with a chance to win. They just beat Illinois with a chance to win the Big Ten regular season, and then
Life comes at you fast.
life comes at you fast with some injuries.
Yep.
You lose a game you shouldn't lose. Next thing you know, you're 1-4 in your last 5 games against really teams that you probably should have been 4-1 against.
Bad competition. 3 of the 4 worst teams in the Big Ten. And I know they're hurt. That's part of the conversation. When people are criticizing my feelings about this game, saying, well, he's dealing with all these injuries and this roster has this limitation and that limitation. Well, who built it? I mean, I understand that they're hurt.
I think part of it too is that with the expectation of Seth Downs and Justice Suing being able to play and then them not being able to give you anything this year,
Right.
that factors into the roster construction a little bit of like, we're not going to bring in somebody to replace kind of what those guys do because hopefully they'll be able to give us something. We're not asking for a ton. Now, Suing, yes.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden you pull collectively like 35 minutes of action out of a game and you're like, okay, this is something now that we thought by February we'd be able to have a little more clarity with.
Yeah. And again, so I'm not suggesting that Chris Holtmann should be fired, and I know that he will not be. I think that if there's a contract extension, which I believe that there is, sitting somewhere on Gene Smith's desk, I don't think if he doesn't win on Friday that you take the top off of that pin, put the ink on the paper, and say this guy absolutely has earned a contract extension. I don't think he needs one, for starters. If you're okay with giving him another year, which that's fine. People that feel strongly about that, that's cool.
How many years does he have left on his
He
deal?
goes
That's
through
the-
25, right, Spencer?
Yes.
They're 25. So
Okay.
what
3 more years.
about this year puts that extension on the deck. I mean, I don't care one way or the other, I guess, but I don't understand. Usually it's because you got the program in a direction that everybody likes, so you're going to Sweet 16.
direction.
It's one direction.
Instead of multiple directions.
There's a few different factors here. So, like, the Big Ten champion, Iowa, lost a few pretty bad games this year, but at the right time, they're playing good basketball. Ohio State has lost some bad games this year, but at the wrong time has been when they've lost those games. So there's the contrast there. Ohio State probably should have been a 4 seed or a 5 seed in this tournament based on if you beat Maryland.
In the Big Ten tournament or the tournament?
NCAA tournament.
Both. Okay.
Because if you beat the worst team in the league, Nebraska, and one of the worst teams in the league without a sentient head coach in Maryland, then you probably are a double bye.
Sentient head. I love it.
I don't even know what that means.
So
apparently they had a brain dead robot out there.
Well, I've watched,
not plugged in.
Not plugged in.
I watched Danny Manning at Wake Forest. At Maryland, he wasn't much better.
Uh-huh.
So you probably have a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. It's an extra day to get healthier. And then you might talk about winning some games, getting a 3 or a 4 seed in the big dance, and then you've got a pretty easy path to a Sweet 16. Now, instead, you're a 7 seed. You play a really good Loyola team. Then you have to play a really good Villanova team. Chris Holtmann's had some success against them before. But, like, it's when
Throw the stats out there.
It's when your wins
Throw the stats out there, Chives.
I said he was 3 or 4-1 against Jay Wright.
Sounds good to me.
Good enough for me, yeah. Sold. I'm going to use that.
We're not doing a live fact check.
I'm using
Taking
that.
it, yeah.
He's got some wins against Jay Wright. This is not a not a tough match.
He
owns Jay Wright.
That's right.
That's what I read.
That's all I've heard.
But anyways, like, it's when your wins come, and it's how you're playing this time of year. And like, I like to use Iowa as the comparison because Ohio State lost to Iowa in a makeup game in February. And from then on, Iowa started playing pretty good basketball.
They really did.
Went on to win the Big Ten tournament, and inversely, Ohio State has played some pretty poor
They were
basketball.
a bubble team then. Like
Absolutely.
Fringe bubble team.
And now you look at the directions of those two. Like, if the roles are reversed, we're talking about an extension for Chris Holtmann. We're talking about a really strong case for a Sweet 16 in March.
Yeah.
And so
And I could understand.
it really boils down to when your wins come in this sport. And it's really weird. You try to compare it to the other sports that matter.
Last 10 games.
Yeah, it's one of those deals. And so
This team beat Duke earlier this year. Did that happen?
They have
Did
talent,
happen.
and they can.
You can barely remember it
Coach
because it
K's
was so
farewell
long
tour.
ago.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, but they won that game like felt pretty good about it. It wasn't like some sort of fluke win. I mean, buzzer beater nuts. Like, they won that game and you felt they played better, and Ohio State was the better team on that day. At least that's my recollection of it. Now, maybe I'm misremembering what happened.
Chris Holtmann has continued to bring that up. Like has everyone forgot about
you guys
that?
remember we beat Duke?
Or for everyone who didn't tune in until after the Rose Bowl, like, hey, played Duke earlier the year. They're a 2 seed. We beat them. You guys might know Coach K. Like, he's pointed that out pretty frequently, and we know that Chris Holtmann, for all of his, I think what fuels him and his competitive drive is being slighted.
What's his why?
He keeps a manila envelope of like clips of criticism of him, of the team, like his preseason projections.
Okay.
And I used to think that was kind of cool.
You're not supposed to
and then I
read the
found myself in it. And it's not so cool to be inside it.
Well, depends on what you're inside, number one.
That's definitely a great point.
Number two.
Not a manila envelope. I don't like to be inside that.
Well, maybe
In the hit
if
package.
you weren't such a hater, then,
But
Do you think he wrote your name with lipstick on a wall? And
Glad
he's
I called
going
that
to
guy.
Austin Ward.
But like,
what did you say, Austin?
I didn't feel like
what did you say?
I didn't feel like what I said was that hot of a take or that controversial.
So let's hear it. What did you say?
I started this column by saying he's not going to be fired. But most people didn't read it or care. My point is only about the extension. And that the problem is not Chris Holtmann himself. I think he's done a good job, a fine job, a solid job. Not a great job, but he's done the job that Ohio State seems to require of him, which, as I said earlier, is to be a fringe top 25 program, to win more than he loses, and to get in the NCAA tournament. He's done that every year. So if that is the measure of success, that's fine. But I think that is, when you look at that athletic department down the road, I think it's the premier athletic department in the country. And they have every resource available, and every other program on campus is held to a championship or bust standard. I know that it's not fair to say.
I don't know. I mean, do we pay that much attention to all the other ones?
Hey, women's
Rifle
compete.
wins every year. Now,
Rifle
I'm not
wins.
saying that they don't win, but do we care?
Well, I'm not meaning that from a fan base perspective of paying attention and demand that lacrosse is good. when Gene Smith is evaluating that, when the president, when everybody else, I think if you have a couple bad years, they're going to make a change. If you don't win a championship ever, that's happened with women's basketball, women's ice hockey, and they made really good hires, and look what happened. They're number one in the country. They had a packed, ice rink over the weekend. They're going to the Frozen Four. I know, so it's not fair, I know. Football and basketball are not the same. When you lose one time in football, you don't win a championship, then the world is falling. You asked what I wrote, Bob. I just think that the standards for Ohio State basketball.
You're asking what are the standards?
I don't know what they are. Yeah. And if you think that what Chris Holtmann did this year merits a contract extension, no matter what happens on Friday, I think that says more about Ohio State, potentially more about Gene Smith, more about the athletic department and what they expect of basketball than it does Chris Holtmann, because he's done nothing to merit being fired. I just don't look at what he's done and say, that's what everybody else on campus is expected to do. Is he going to win a national championship? I really don't think so. Is he going to get to a final?
You don't think he'll ever win a championship?
I don't think he'll win a national championship. He hasn't got even to the second. How could I know that? He's never even been to the second weekend of the tournament.
His 5th year.
But he also had never lost in the opening round until he got to Ohio State.
And that's, again, all that stuff is fine. You put it on a piece of paper, and you can say, well, they're hurt this year, so if they lose on Friday, I get it. Like Kyle Young, Zed Key, and people that want to justify that. I don't have any problem with that. He's in a situation that's really unique, and it's hard to evaluate because you don't know what Ohio State truly cares about this program and what they want it to be. But if they sign an extension for that, then they're telling you explicitly, we don't think that this program has to win a national championship. And that's what I think is the problem.
I wouldn't say that I don't think that he could win a national title here. I thought Thad would win one, and sometimes you get unlucky.
I think somebody can win a national title here. That's why I
mean, they haven't won one since 1960. Fred Taylor was the last dude to do it.
Get to the Final Four, and then it's all.
Yeah,
that's why they hang banners for Final Four.
Here's the reality.
Just national championship.
When you have a Final Four team, you have to make the Final Four. They don't have a Final Four team this year.
Absolutely.
They need to make the second round because they have a second round team this year, and so you need to get there. You beat Nova and Jay Wright, and all of a sudden this conversation changes dramatically.
Well, and I put that in there as well. Like he may. E.J. Liddell and Malachi Branham, those guys are good enough when they get hot. They can win 1, 2. They can get to the second weekend. Mm-hmm. And then this conversation is out. That's why I said it's a must-win game. This team should win in the first round. And then you can say, well, he's got it on track, and he's got the recruiting class coming. You don't want to make.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up, the recruiting class. If it's as good, it's one of the top ones in the country. Yeah. And so you follow Buckeye recruiting basketball more than I would. But just looking at all that and seeing it.
I definitely don't, but Spencer does.
Yes, Chives does. And so looking at that, I'm like, all right, so if these guys are as good, if Malachi Branham stays for another year, which it looks like that, I mean, he played great, but it wasn't like he went on that 25-point scoring streak for the last 8 games. If he stays and you pair him with those guys, like, all right, then you have some veterans that are staying as well. Like, it seems like it should be a pretty good situation. But it's tough, too, like, managing your roster in basketball. And football was like this a little bit with the COVID years. Like, it's been ridiculously difficult.
Right.
Who's staying, transfer portal, guys leaving, COVID years, trying to figure out who's on scholarship, who's not. I mean, there's been a lot of things that they've had to deal with, and I'm not making an excuse for that. Mm-hmm. They need to win this game. And that's the reality of it. And I think Chris Holtmann would tell you the same thing. And I don't think you should be fired if he loses it. Next year, you start asking the question, okay, if these guys are as good as they say, we should be a top 3 or 4 team in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
and with that second weekend.
Slow play that and just see how this weekend goes. And then, hey, we're giving you another chance. You have a nice recruiting class coming in. You might have some pieces coming back. See how next year goes. If we're in the same boat at this time next year,
yeah,
I think you'll hear more people saying we might need to go in a different direction.
Before last year, Holtmann had never lost in the round of 64.
And then, you're allowed to call it the first round now.
Yeah.
They gave up on that one.
So he had never lost in the first round. So that was part of his resume, was this guy wins first-round games. Historic upsets are historic because there's only been 9 times ever that a 2 seed's lost to a 15 seed. Well, you're part of that now. And that it happened. It's an upset.
They were a 2 seed last year?
Mm-hmm.
And you can –
we were hot. The bandwagon was hot coming off the Big Ten tournament last year.
Duke lost in the first round as a 2 seed.
They
Michigan
did.
State. There's some.
Yeah.
It's
weird.
Gonna happen.
It's weird to say, but you're in
basketball
some elite company there. Really good teams.
Is that the right type of elite company?
That's
really,
not where you want to be.
But what I'm saying is really good teams.
Good programs, not good teams.
Yeah. And so you can excuse it if you get back to your winning ways in the first round this year. But you need to get back there or else it becomes a trend. And so I think that's the biggest thing. And now you got to go against a really good Loyola team that you're not guaranteed.
And Sister, what's her name?
Sister Jean.
Yeah, Sister Jean.
Yeah,
She's still
you go
kicking.
against a 102-year-old nun, and all bets are off.
That's right. You guys
I
think
didn't
they'll
know
win
she
on
was that
Friday?
old.
I think they need to bring out some
Ooh.
sort of like voodoo witch doctor serpent and slice its head off on the field and have Chris drink some blood before the game.
Wow, that sounds right to me.
I mean, you got to
Yep.
fight. You've got to fight good with evil.
That's right.
And that's what I've always
You
been
got to be
told.
a wild. It's
That's
got to be a
right.
wild
You
card.
gotta bring.
No, got to be a wild card. That's what Vladimir Putin taught me. You got to fight good with evil, and maybe Chris Holtmann would be better served as being the heel. He's such a nice guy, but maybe he would be better as
he's
the heel.
dark.
Just start
The
opening
turncoat.
up the manila envelope. Be like, let's talk about it.
This guy. Hate him.
Done.
Right
Get him
there.
out of here.
Done.
That's it.
Listen, sister,
Their time is over.
That's right.
listen, Sister
My time is
Jean,
now.
You've
Oh no!
done some really
Don't
good
do it to
things.
Sister.
Sister Jean,
curious where this is gonna go.
102.
done some really good
Is she
things,
102?
but- Yeah.
Is she really 102?
That's
I knew she
impressive.
was old.
Guys wanted to take your heel turn and bring Sister Jean in.
No, it's like, hey,
Here.
listen, Sister Jean, we love you.
Is she
You're a
gonna-
great part of March Madness.
Stone Cold
Except
Stunner?
we need to beat you in the first round. I'm so sorry. You're going home from Pittsburgh early. That's what it's got to be.
Fine.
Trash talk Sister Jean. No, that
Gotta
would.
be better trash talk.
I love. Yeah.
Well, Chris Holtman's he's not,
a
I
nice
don't think
guy.
he's going to really say too much. But
Chris Holtmann.
I would hope he wouldn't say anything to
He's an elite.
Listen,
Sister
ma'am.
Jean. Yeah.
I'm going to beat your team on Friday,
I'm gonna do everything I can to beat your team.
but I'll say 7 Hail Marys to get over it.
I had a friend one time
I don't know where this is going.
This should be good.
who once when we were
Friend of Bob's,
once
friend of
when
theirs.
we were prepared, teammate as well.
Hey, okay.
You know him,
Oh
Justin.
boy.
Once we were preparing for Notre Dame in the bowl game, and all week he kept saying blank touchdown Jesus, and I'm like, that's not a good thing to do, okay? Like whether your level of religion or not, I mean, like it's just probably not wise. And he tore his ACL on the opening kickoff at the bowl game,
Joel Penton?
and it was I'm like, that may have been coming for you. So when I was joking,
Really?
it's a little bit more of a joke. Yeah, think about who the guy was. And he tore his ACL, and it was the last time he ever played football his redshirt senior year. So there we go.
Don't mess with touchdown Jesus.
Or Sister Jean.
Or Sister
Well,
Jean.
Or Sister
Or
Jean.
that, yeah. I take everything back.
That's right. I know who is going to win. We won't. We'll not predict Ohio State right now. We'll let the week play out. But tomorrow night in Dayton.
Ooh, are you going?
Absolutely.
Hey.
I will be there.
The Wyoming, what are they? The Cowboys?
Wyoming Cowboys
Gotta be,
against
right?
the Indiana Hoosiers.
Oh.
Big time matchup.
What do you think?
I'm so excited to go. I really wish that Indiana wasn't the opponent not because I don't think Wyoming won't win. I think they will win.
Yeah.
But they
Pro
drove up.
Indiana
They
crowd.
drove up the
Yeah.
price on the secondary market instantly. So it's a little bit more expensive than I would have wanted to pay for a first 4 game. But when
It's your squad.
my squad, when they come this
for you.
close in the NCAA tournament, Allie and I are actually gonna. Here's how lucky I am. Our anniversary is on Saturday. Like, what are we gonna do? I'm like, well, maybe we should go to Dayton on a Tuesday night
Ooh.
and watch
We'll
basketball.
celebrate. Heck yeah.
So we're
great.
So I hit the jackpot there. That's what we're doing for our anniversary celebration.
Good for you.
It'll be appetizer Tuesday in here, so everybody who wants to come
Mott
watch
sticks.
Wyoming and the Hoosiers.
There are Roosters in Dayton.
Well,
Appetizer Tuesday could be.
Well, it depends on what side of 75 you're on,
reality.
isn't it?
didn't say that I wasn't going to take part myself as a part of the pregame festivities, but 9 o'clock Tuesday night, maybe some Mott sticks down the
Late-
hatch beforehand.
late game.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, good for you.
Lots of time to get drunk beforehand.
Lots of time.
I always said, "What time do you want to leave?" I said, 9 a.m. Let's go.
Yes.
We'll be there all day. I don't think we're going to get
Go
to
take
do
a
that.
tour of the
Apparently, we have jobs.
airplane
You can
place.
stop at Yellow
The
Springs
hangar.
Brewery. I think Warped Wing is down there. You can go.
I'll be at Warped
Say
Wing,
hi to
Couple
Dave Chappelle.
Yellow Springs. So, can't wait for that.
Good for
NCAA
you.
tournament is here. You can watch it starting tomorrow night, but Thursday, Friday at 12:15. Come into Roosters, watch the Buckeyes and Loyola, and Sister Jean and Chris Holtmann in a must-win game. Roosters has always got you taken care of. It's a fun, casual joint. NCAA tournament is here. Spring break will be over. The Buckeyes will be back on the practice field next week. We're going to talk about it all when we get back in here to the Lettermen Lounge for Lettermen Live. That's Jay-Z, Bob, Chives. I am Austin Ward. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.